Hey guys! I know it has been a while. Didn't upload on Sunday because I kept putting it off until I realized, wow, today's Wednesday. Here I am, Thanksgiving, Thursday, almost another week later. This week's video is inspired by Carly and Aaron. I don't know if you watch them or not, but they are some of my favorite YouTubers to watch. It is questions that you can get online if you search my first time, and it's like the first thing that pops up. Random information about me that maybe you're interested in knowing, and if not, then this isn't the video for you because this is going to be kind of long maybe. The first question is, what is the first app that you check when you wake up? Probably Instagram. I wake up in the morning, that's one of the first things that I open. First broken bone. The only bone I have ever broken is one of my index fingers. I don't remember which one because it was a really long time ago. I had fallen, smashed my hand into something, and I went to the hospital. They told me, oh no, it's not broken, you're fine. So I went home and then they're like, oh, you better not move it. It actually is broken, sorry. My best friend and I, when we were young, we were always trying to break our legs together so we could go to the hospital together. First foreign country you've ever visited. I am super boring. I am a girl that would love to travel, would love to go to every single country in the whole wide world. I've always said that I want to live in a different country for like 3 months and then move, and then like that would be my dream. I want to be a gypsy. That's like my lifelong dream, to just travel and basically be homeless. But unfortunately for me, the only place I've been outside of the United States is Canada. My very first Twitter post would be this one right here. Nothing very exciting, but I did find it ironic as it was snowing this morning when I looked out the window. My very first makeup item that I ever owned, my parents were out of town and I snuck there to get like the little CoverGirl blush and eyeshadow, and I would like wear it at work and then washed it off before I went home. But my first like actual makeup items were Mary Kay. I don't know if it was the first plane ride that I've ever been on, but the first plane ride that I can remember was going from Texas to Oregon with my daughter, who was like 7 months at the time. We had to go visit my family. First time I ever got in trouble at home or school. First times that I got in trouble with at home, my family and I went to Nebraska, and weed grew wild there. You know, Nebraska, no high, whatever. We didn't know anything about weed, my friend and I. Mom had brought back a pot leaf just to be funny, and I had it, like, was keeping it, and my friend and I decided one night to smoke it. We were super funny, trying to smoke a leaf, not only with notebook paper. Definitely didn't get high, but I got grounded for like 3 months. Oh my god. I was always in trouble at school because I like to talk. So yeah. First time I was allowed to put on makeup. I was 18 years old, believe it or not, when I first started wearing makeup. When I was younger, had played around with lipstick at my grandma's house, but I wasn't allowed to wear makeup. That was against the rules. We couldn't wear makeup, couldn't cut our hair, couldn't wear pants, a lot of things. Like if I had my shirt like this, that would be like bad. How dare you show your collarbones, you evil person. Makeup was definitely not allowed. Very first YouTuber I subscribed to. The 3 people that I watched like crazy were Jenna Marbles, Marlena Estelle, and iJustine. First time you went shopping on your own. I have no freaking idea. I do remember, however, one shopping trip that I had where, as I said, I wasn't allowed to wear pants and a lot of things that were inappropriate. I had to be modest. I went with a group of my friends. They made me try on a bunch of scandalous clothing, like tight dresses. Another story for another time as well. First boyfriend / girlfriend. It's hard to say. When I was a kid, we would say we had boyfriends and girlfriends, but we didn't actually go on dates or anything. So like if you count that, it would be a guy that I went to school with. But if you count like my actual first date, then it would be my kid's dad. My very first car was a Chevy Celebrity. It was a 1983. It was gold. It was ugly as hell. This is not it, but it's what it looked like. This was my first car that was just mine. My first celebrity crush, there was 2 of them. My best friend and I would write our name with the celebrity's last name all over everything. One of them was Casper, the freaking ghost. I don't know if you remember in the 90s, very popular movie. I was obsessed with that. I wanted to be Cat, like, oh my God. Other one would be Richie Rich. I thought he was so cute. Now looking back, I'm like, what the heck? I think I just really liked the idea of him because he was sweet and nice. I don't know. This next question is odd because it is my first cooking experience. I will tell you right now, I've never been a fan of cooking. As a kid, my mom would always try to get me to cook and like try to show me how to make gravy, and like that's my first cooking experience that I remember, is her always trying to get me to learn how to cook and me being like, no thank you, I'm reading my book. My first crush, that would most definitely be my kid's dad. I was like in love with him my entire life. When we were kids, I would sign my name with his last name. I had a journal from age 11 until like 2005, and most of that time I was just obsessed with him. We did date when we were kids. Well, date, we didn't actually date until I turned 18 and moved out. Then we actually started dating and we got married and had a kid, and that's a whole nother story as well. But yeah, he was my first crush. He was also my first ever boyfriend, because I don't really count the ones in high school because honestly we didn't even talk. It was more like just telling everyone you had a boyfriend. I dated somebody for like 3.5 years, and I think we probably said like 3 words to each other. My first ever cell phone was a Nokia candy bar phone. I know I'm doing a lot of these in this video, sorry. Really old phone. It's going to age me quite a bit, I know. You've never text on a phone where you had to push a number like 3 times to get to a letter, you are spoiled. My first ever date, I have no freaking idea. I am old. That was a long time ago. One of the first dates that I do remember, I went to the movies with my kid's dad. I'm not really a big date person. Like, I've gone on dates before, but I don't like to go places. I'd much rather be at home in my sweatshirt, cuddled up in my knit socks and watching a movie. That's a great date to me. My first ever girlfriend. I'm not gonna say her name, but I loved her a lot. I went to her wedding and begged her not to marry somebody, and she married him anyway. So that was the end of that. My first ever kiss. When I was like 4, a gay cousin kissed in a closet. Very slobbery. I remember thinking it was disgusting. My first fear, I had a lot of nightmares as a child, so I would probably say my nightmares were my first fear, because I used to have the most awful night terrors. I used to have a lot of reoccurring nightmares too. Like, years and years would go by and I'd still have the same nightmare. It's crazy. I can lucid dream, so it doesn't really surprise me too much that I can remember my dreams and that they're so vivid and that they're recurring. But there has to be some reason why this happens to me, that I keep having the same exact dream. Like, I don't know, it's weird, because I guess that makes it easier for me to lucid dream though, because I'll recognize that it's a dream and be like, oh hey, this is a dream I've had before, and then I start controlling things. It's actually really fun. My first friend in college, that was my friend Becca. I don't mind saying her name. Everyone else I've kind of been shady about, but Becca is one of my good friends still. I haven't talked to her in a while because she got pregnant and had a baby recently, so she's been super busy with that and work. But she was such a good friend. We were both going through a really hard time, and we bonded over our similar situation. It was during Christmas, and it was hard, and we were both there for each other. Always be my friend. I'll never forget our time together. My first heartbreak. So my first heartbreak, I think I was like 14, and found out that my boyfriend was cheating on me and making out with some girl, which I don't blame him now looking back. Like, who wants to date somebody that they never talked to? My very first Instagram post, that would be my little cutie girl right here. I love her so much. She's gonna turn 14 this year, which again, ages me. That's okay, because a lot of people tell me I don't look as old as I am, and I appreciate that very much because I really don't want to get old. I think that's probably one of my biggest fears, actually, is aging. My first internet activity, I did a lot of AIM. If you don't know what that is, it's kind of basically like instant messenger chat rooms. That was a really popular thing back then. Talked to a lot of people. My first job, I was lucky because when I had just turned 15, one of the guys in our church offered to give me a job at his ice cream shop. That was fun. I ate a lot of ice cream while working there. My first language was English. It's basically my only language. I do speak a little Spanish. I understand it more than I can speak it. My first love, I told you this answer already. It was my kid's dad. We loved each other. We were best friends. Got married, had a baby. My first pet. I tried to find a picture of this, try to locate that and take a picture of the picture and insert it here. I had Puff until I was like 14 years old. And it was so sad because I lost my grandma and my puppy around the same time, and it sucked. My very first piercing, and when did I get it? That would be my belly button piercing. I don't really count ears as a piercing. I got those when I was like 9 months old. My grandma snuck off and got them pierced and was like, surprise, to my mom, and she was really pissed. But my belly button, I got that done when I was 18. Funny story, I got it done and I was too excited and I wanted to tell my mom because my mom and I were like best friends. So I told her thinking it would be okay because I was 18, but then it wasn't, and she wanted me to move out or take it out. And they were like, well, you can't have a graduation party if you don't take it out. And I was like, okay, fine. I took it out and gave it to them, went and got a new one, had her put a new one in, and had it ever since. My first sexual experience, interestingly enough, today is Thanksgiving, and my first sexual experience was on Thanksgiving. I was 18 years old. Not really gonna go into that one because it's kind of weird. My first swear word. I was really pissed off at my mom's husband. Called him a fucking bastard. He was just being a jerk all morning. First, he made me change my clothes. He didn't like what I was wearing, even though I was wearing a jean skirt that went to the floor and a long sleeve shirt. And then I had my hair in two little space buns on the side. It was like half up and half down with two little buns. He didn't like that either and told me to go change my hair, and I was pissed. And somebody asked what was wrong with me, and he was like, oh, she's just being whiny, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, no, it's because you're being not a good day. My very first tattoo, that would have been my fairy that I covered in my tattoo tour. If you haven't seen that, I will try to link a card up in the corner. I did post a picture in that video. My first thought today was that I was in pain and how pissed I was that I forgot to turn off my alarm. I took the day off today and forgot that I had set my alarm for 3:05 for the prior day. Needless to say, I woke up really early this morning for no reason. For some reason, again, there is the question, my first time on a plane. I'm gonna skip that because I already answered that question. First time on a ship. I wouldn't really consider it a ship necessarily, more like a fishing boat. We went out when I was like in 10th grade or something, out on the ocean on a boat, and I got sick as hell. We were supposed to be going to see like whales and stuff, and instead I was throwing up over the side of the boat. And I remember that the frickin' captain said, there she blows, when I was throwing up over the edge, and I was mortified. My first time on a train. Again, I was in school. It was a field trip. We got to ride on the Amtrak. That was pretty cool. Next question is my first toy. Kind of a weird question because I don't think anyone would remember their actual first toy, considering that we were babies when we got our first toy. One of my first toys that I remember loving so much that I had in like every picture growing up was my glowworm. I had that thing everywhere. I loved my glowworm. My very first tweet. I actually already posted this question, so kind of irrelevant. My very first YouTube video, not that long ago, actually. It was a Naked Cherry palette tutorial with horrible audio and quality, but I tried, okay? My online profile picture. Well, you know, dude, if you're following me on here, you can see my profile picture. My first book that I remember reading. I read literally 5 to 10 books a day I was a very big reader. We didn't have TV. We played outside. We didn't have all the electronics that we do now, so that was our entertainment. Two books that stick out in my mind was A Time for Dancing and Look for Me by Moonlight. They're both young adult books, I believe. The first concert I ever attended, I don't remember exactly what it was. Two concerts that stand out in my mind that were probably my first. Switchfoot was my first. We also went and saw System of a Down as well. One of those was my first, but those were like two of my first. First movie I remember seeing, I think the very first movie I ever saw in theater was Finding Nemo. The first person I talked to today was my husband, of course. He woke me up to tell me he loved me and that he was leaving for work because that's what he does, because he's sweet. He knows I would break his leg if he didn't kiss me before he left. First, the person that broke my heart. I already told this story, folks, but it was a kid in school who cheated on me. First person you text when something exciting happens. My husband, my mom, my daughter. Basically the only people that I text, or my mother-in-law. I like to text those people, and that's it. First text I sent today, and I told him I loved him, and he told me he loved me. And first thing I do every morning is get up and put my glasses on and put my pajamas on because I don't want to be running around the house naked. First thing I do when I get home, I'm getting home from work, the first thing I do is go change my clothes because the uniforms that we have to wear at work are ugly as hell. First time I ever got drunk was when I was 18 years old. I was a prude. I didn't do anything before I was 18. I was a good little girl. My friend invited me to a little house party, went to her house, sat in a hot tub and drank wine coolers. Unfortunately for me, I didn't know you got extra drunk when you were sitting in a hot tub. Next morning, I regretted it greatly. I was throwing up all day. Worst hangover ever. First wedding I ever attended was my mom's. Married her husband that she's still married to when I was about 5 years old. When did you go to your first party? Oh dear. I think I was about 18 again. When I moved to Texas, I went to this house party, and actually I do have a video on that. I will link that up in the cards. Somebody drugged me at that party. Not a great experience. When did you have your first sleepover? What kind of sleepover are we talking about here? Hey, I don't know, I was a kid. Don't all little girls have sleepovers? My first actual sleepover, I was like 18. See a pattern here? All these firsts I had were when I was 18 because I was a little innocent child. First time I got a speeding ticket. Guess what? I've never had a speeding ticket. I speed occasionally, but I don't really go that fast. Fastest I would go is 10 miles over. Usually it's 5 miles over. Miles per hour, whatever. I'm lazy. I just say miles. And the last question, thank God, is the first time I got in a fist fight, which I, again, have never gotten in a fist fight. Do I look like the type of person that would have a fist fight? Well, okay, don't answer that because there have been a lot of times that I've wanted to punch someone in the face. I'm just too nice and won't. Or I'm afraid of the consequences and won't, rather. I wouldn't say I'm too nice to because that's not true at all. I definitely would punch someone in the face. On that note, I love you guys. I will see you next week. Hopefully. Bye.